Call the meeting order. All stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Jessen.
Is here.
Councilmember Graham. Councilmember Graham. Here. Councilmember Larson.
Here.
Councilmember Paparad.
Back again.
Councilmember Rivas.
Here.
Councilmember Sims.
Present.
Councilmember Witten.
I am here.
Commissioner Good. Commissioner Blaney. Present. Commissioner Biggs.
Here.
Advisory member Matt Vesely.
Here.
Mark Ritzie, and David Coit.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for September 24th and November 27th.
Second.
Motion on the floor to approve the minutes from September 24th and November 27th. Any discussion?
Why are our agendas different?
I got them on. This must be the earlier version. You guessing? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we are doing our annual reorganization with our new members present, and I would like to open up the floor for nomination.
I'd like to nominate Laura Blaney for president.
Of the Porter County Foundation.
Second.
Nomination for Laura Blaney and seconded by Councilwoman Graham. Any discussion? The roll call, please.
Councilmember Graham. Yes. Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad.
I guess so. Yes.
Councilmember Rivas.
We're gonna have some fun this year.
Councilmember Sims.
Yes.
Councilmember Witten.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Commissioner Blaney.
Yes.
And Commissioner Biggs.
She voted for herself?
Sure.
I'm making sure.
Congratulations. I will dutifully turn the meeting over to Laura.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to nominate Councilman Jessen for Vice President. I'll second.
I guess I shouldn't be seconding that. We'll give a second to Mr.
Yeah.
Paparad.
I'll second.
All right, roll call, please.
Okay, Councilmember Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Paparad.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Rivas.
You weren't so sure about Laura, but Justin, you jumped right in there.
Correct.
Duly noted.
Yeah, pay attention now. I'm going to move fast, you know. I've had 2 years to catch up, so.
Councilmember Sims.
Yeah.
Councilmember Witten.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen.
Yes.
Councilmember Graham.
Sylvia?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Commissioner Blaney.
Laura?
Yes. And Commissioner Biggs.
Yes.
9-0.
You made the motion. She shouldn't ask.
Oh, I gave it.
What are you talking about?
All right, next on the agenda, we have the capital.
We need to reorganize already.
Do we need to appoint an attorney?
No, I don't think so.
Do we need to appoint the attorney?
Oh, they volunteer anyway, don't they?
Yeah, that's,
We have them hired.
okay.
Open
Next,
hire indentured service.
were you making a motion, Dan?
No.
All right,
We reviewing the attorney's contract, is that what you're saying?
no, next on the.
Oh, I heard that down here.
Capital City.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amanda Black with Capital Cities. Just as a reminder, we're the advisor to the Porter County Foundation and a co-fiduciary of the assets. As requested, I'm back to provide an abbreviated flash report of the year-end results. Our normal meeting time would be in February, where we provide a deeper, more comprehensive analysis, and we'll still do that. But today is a more abbreviated version, as you wanted a more timely update given the unusual market environment. So without further ado, if you would please just turn right into your report, page 2. If you'll look toward the bottom of the page, if you would scroll all the way down to where there's a box that said broad investment market returns, I do want to just take, just a second to kind of paint the context of what the market was looking like in the fourth quarter and over the year. I think everyone remembers that we were having a difficult fourth quarter. Just to put that into context, these returns here in this little chart, they are not the Porter County returns, they're just broad market returns. U.S. large cap stocks were down 13.5%, smaller company stocks were down 20%, non-U.S. stocks were down 13%, and the broad bond market was up about 1.5%. So as you can see, that's a pretty tough market for earning returns in an investment portfolio. So then if you'll just look back up to the middle a little bit there, I'll show you your specific results. So the Porter County results for the fourth quarter was a negative 5.2% return, so not surprising given the market environment. So with that fourth quarter return, even though you had some positive returns in the first, second, and third quarter, that brought your full year, your last year, 2018 return to minus 2.9%. So certainly this is the first time we've reported a negative calendar year return, and of course that's disappointing. As we know, no one ever wants to see a negative return.
That's why we changed chairmen, yes.
So negative 3% for the year. With that said, even with these negative returns, your average annual return over the last 3 years is still a positive 4.5%. So in a second, I want to show you what that means in terms of dollars, but I just wanted to kind of introduce the main ideas here on page 2. Let's look at the market value to the left. So the portfolio ended the year with a market value of $150.5 million. Certainly that was down from the third quarter, given the negative return. I typically don't like to talk about a 2-week period, but since it was positive, I'd like to share some updated information with you. 2 weeks is not a long time into a quarter. A lot can happen between now and March 31st when you get an official report again. With that said, as of yesterday, your market value was $152,912,336. So you've gained back some of those dollars just in the 2 weeks of January here. Your portfolio has had a positive 1.6% return here in the 2 weeks of January. So obviously a lot of volatility and risk and uncertainty in the markets. We're seeing kind of whipsawed returns. Your portfolio is faring better than other foundations because you are more conservatively positioned. So even though you're still negative, you're not as negative as other foundations are dealing with because you only have 40% equity per your investment policy. Most other foundations, community foundations, private foundations across the country, they typically have about 60% in equity. So they're seeing much worse returns right now. I do want to show you a chart on page 4. This is the cumulative return chart. So I mentioned earlier that you've had an average annual return of 4.5% for 3 years. So that means you have a cumulative return of just shy of 13%. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see what that means in terms of dollars. So with that positive return over time, you've added $17.6 million in investment earnings to the bottom line for the foundation. So I'll pause there and see what kind of questions you might have.
End there.
And that doesn't include those 2 weeks of January that I mentioned. So that actually would be slightly higher right now if we calculated it.
So if we're going to count the last 2 weeks, so we've gained somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million.
Yes, that's correct.
Since we began our investments.
And honestly, we knew there were going to be dips and valleys in this when we formed the foundation. We knew, thank you, peaks and valleys. But before we did the foundation, keep in mind we were getting less than 1% on our money. So we're still miles ahead of where we would have been.
That $17 million, does that include what's been taken out, or is that just total gain?
So they are investment gains separate from any cash flows. So now, some of those have been taken out.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
Right.
What that doesn't include is if there was money put into the portfolio, like let's say the muni bonds matured and you took them from this account, one account, and moved them to this account. Just a cash movement like that wouldn't show up as an investment gain.
That's a good question. Do we have any more,
Yes.
Michelle? Yeah?
$600,000 worth of municipal bonds.
And that's it?
But I did include that $600,000 in the final market values that I reported to you today. Yep.
Any other questions?
Well, I like the talk of the last 2 weeks. That was all right. The other 50 are a little iffy, but what are you going to do?
Any end in sight to the volatility?
So there are a lot of things weighing on the markets right now. The Fed is the big one here in the U.S. I mentioned it last time that, interestingly enough, things are going well, which is why the Fed has kept tightening monetary policy. But that tightening of monetary policy makes, access to capital more difficult for companies. It makes investors worry that stock prices can't be sustained. Now we're hearing that the Fed might pause a little bit. There's more of a wait-and-see approach that they're saying here in 2019. That could be beneficial to the markets. On the other hand, we've got some tariff discussions unfolding across the globe with trade. Those could kind of vex markets a little bit. And then we also have things like Brexit that still has to unfold in a neat manner. So there are just a lot of things on the horizon. But I think it's just important to note that corporations are really doing well. The consumer is doing well. I think investors are just a little nervous with all of these uncertainties. In that market,
If the feds don't pause on their interest rate hikes, are you going to reallocate back over to T-notes or something that pays a little better?
we as your advisor won't do that. We have multiple active investment managers within the fixed income space in your portfolio, and that's within their prerogative to say, based on the current interest rate environment, I'm going to buy more treasury notes or less, more corporate bonds or less. So that's certainly within the scope of your managers, and they are doing those types of things.
And your role is to advise us whether or not that's a good idea or...
Yes, so then we look at those managers kind of sitting on the same side of the table as you, and we make sure they're doing a good job of that. We benchmark them according to industry standards and industry peers as well as indexes. And then we also have methodology for doing that within your investment policy statement that we're bound to follow.
It's clear that the stock market's not for the faint of heart.
No.
And we knew that there's a potential for a pretty wild ride, which we've experienced on the high end. And then, of course, we, like everybody in the country, have experienced the fourth quarter of last year. So fortunately, we have had an extremely conservative approach to our investments. Fortunately, we have an investment policy that helps, even in difficult times, it helps mitigate the loss as compared to other foundations, as Amanda mentioned. And so I think we can all feel confident and comfortable in that. And to answer the question about volatility, that will continue for a variety of different reasons. And there's nobody that has a crystal ball to see through that or any magical wand to play a specific part in it.
Well, in anticipation of that, I mean, we've built up some money in our holding fund to ride the storm if it gets long running or too difficult for us to sustain our earnings for operations. But so we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And again, we're miles ahead of where we were before we created the foundation.
I had one question. You say we were down about 13% on the broad investment market for international stocks, and we've got, it looks like about 10% in international equity. Is there a chance we're moving away from that? Because I heard even the Chinese market is much worse than we anticipated it was. So is there some...
Yep. The Chinese market is, it's just that it was growing so fast, so strongly for so long, and now that even though it's still growing, it's growing at such a lesser pace that investors are very nervous. But that's the actual Chinese stock market is minuscule in terms of other non-U.S. stocks. So you have very little, if any, exposure there.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
Well, the picture here is clear. I mean, if over the next 10 years, we only do half as well as we've done up to this point, it's got to be looked at as a huge success. I mean, there's absolutely nothing we could have done with this money had we kept it and spent it. Nothing. To get this kind of return in just 3 years.
Right. To avoid the opportunity cost of just sitting in cash, you have to expose yourself in some way or fashion to the markets. Equity markets are the only place to earn return over inflation. You have a 40% exposure to equity markets, which, as I mentioned, is more conservative than most other foundations, yet it's still giving you quite a boost over cash. With that said, looking at a return year in or year out, you're bound to have a negative over time, so from time to time. So we try to emphasize a longer-term time horizon, yet still talk to you quarter in and quarter out.
Matt, do you have anything to add?
I mean, I certainly don't have any questions. I think it's well presented, and I think, as many people have referenced, it's a little bit difficult to think of the time horizon for a foundation. It's infinity. And, you know, this is meant to be there forever, and we tend to think of it in terms of our lifetime, or in a forever world, a down quarter is a pretty small blip.
Well, on the back end of all that bad news, I think Capital City's contract is up again tonight, isn't it?
Yep, I was just going to bring that up while you're still here. We'll talk about this. Down, I got copies for everyone. Scott, do you want to run through this?
Yeah, it's an amendment to the original contract for an additional 3 years. Very straightforward. The original contract issues are still in play. That's why the amendment is so short. I can say personally, dealing with them, and I probably have some of the most dealings with them as far as passions are concerned, and I can tell you that the responsiveness and the professionalism is pretty outstanding. So the contract speaks for itself. I believe, if I remember correctly, the fee remains fixed. So.
Well, if I could chime in here, I've had a lot of involvement with Capital Cities over the years, and they're extremely responsive, actually, and every time I've called with questions, I've gotten an immediate answer, sometimes even on the weekend. So I would ask that we maintain their services because they've been invaluable. I make a motion to approve this
second.
First Amendment.
And, I mean, I haven't had any dealings with you all outside of a meeting, but the results of your management speak for itself. I mean, that's all you have to look at. So.
We don't need a roll call for this, right?
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second?
For a contract, yeah, I think you should get a roll call for a contract, yes.
All right, we'll do a roll call.
What do you want us to do, Scott, since we're paying?
Do a roll call.
Okay, Councilmember Paparad?
Yes.
Councilmember Rivas?
Yes.
Councilmember Sims?
Yes.
Councilmember Witten?
Oh, we're doing a roll call? Sorry.
Yes.
Councilmember Jessen?
Yes.
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Larson?
Yes.
Commissioner Blaney?
Yes.
And Commissioner Biggs?
Yes.
I'm signing one and sending it down.
We got, whatever.
You got one.
You want to come the other way?
Thank you. I really appreciate the kind words. We enjoy the opportunity to work with you and appreciate it.
And all I ask is when we get the final one signed, please give that one to Dick.
Yes, me.
Coming your way.
There we go. Two of
We'll
them.
get two of them.
Thank you.
They probably want one, too.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, we've got a resolution to transfer from our holding fund to our budget fund.
And Vicki, could you explain slightly why that number's where it's at?
The amount of the transfer?
Yeah.
Okay. The end of the year foundation budget fund had a balance of about $71,465. So we're only going to transfer the amount that we need to support the foundation budget fund in 2019. And that comes out to the $4.5 million figure that I believe is in the resolution.
Yes, it is.
Down to the penny.
Yes.
$4,562,797.78.
Anything over 4.5 gets divided by us, doesn't it?
Something like that.
Okay, all right.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Do we have anything else? Attorney's report?
I have nothing to add.
Anyone else want to address the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, you know what, before we leave, we should schedule our next meeting, right?
And also, if
We need
the
to
members
sign
could
that
sign the
resolution.
resolution.
We did.
Give it back to me.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't.
All right, when would the right time be for the quarterly meeting? When do we usually meet?
We shouldn't make them come back in February, so.
No, it's once per quarter. we
Yeah,
have to
May.
meet, so.
Do you want-
But we want to know, we want to know a pretty good feel how our first quarter did.
Yeah. So, first quarter,
April?
so March,
Are you in?
I can do April. What kind of, when do you guys have meetings in April? Just the one or Tuesday?
23rd?
Yeah, it's my birthday, we can try to get some sort of celebration if you want.
Does that work for
I
you?
know
What about
any
April
socks.
23rd?
That'd be great.
Anybody have a problem with April 23rd?
Oh,
That's following Easter, is that right?
All right,
So far out, I don't.
we have a
Amanda,
commissioner
the
meeting.
information will be ready by then and all that?
It will, that gets us off schedule a little bit in terms of getting our full report. Our full reports are in February, May, August, and November.
What do you suggest?
So,
Let's do May.
but normally we would do May. We would do February, but you would just be getting more of what I gave you already.
For the May Town
And then,
May.
and then in May, we would do the full-blown report. With that said, we can send you an update quickly, you know, before then.
So do you think April would be a waste for you, or you think you
It
want
would
to have?
be more like this, which is fine, but if you want the full-blown,
I mean, we may have to
report.
meet before, I mean, we can schedule it for May, but I would suggest that if things develop,
We can always
we can
pick
always meet.
one. We can pick one up.
mhm. We're always happy to do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so the May meeting would be May 22nd. Oh, no, May 21st, excuse me.
Tuesday?
Tuesday, yes. I mean, that's when you guys have your council.
Right.
Sounds good.
Right, I like it.
May 21st? All right, May 21st, better. Now we can be adjourned.
Let's say win the lottery.
Be like that.
Adjourned.
Out of here.
No. These things tend to go.
You going?
Yeah.
You done? What do you got there, Mike?
It didn't matter. I was trying to help, so I'm sorry.
We did a roll call.
I get it. That's just because it's my mind, my work, so I get it.
Thank you, sir.